Good evening, this is News Mongolia. I'm Hort in the MNB World studio. For our top stories, COVID-19, 921 confirmed cases, 11 additional deaths reported. President of Mongolia participates in the World Leaders Summit at COP26. Newly appointed ambassadors received their credentials from President U.Khurelsukh. For other news, stay tuned. The Ministry of Health reported that 921 new COVID-19 cases were confirmed today, and 11 people have died.
The Ministry of Health today on November 1 has reported that 921 new COVID-19 cases were detected in the past 24 hours after tests were carried out at PCR laboratories across the country. Unfortunately, 11 people died due to COVID-19 complications. All new cases are of domestic transmission, 667 out of which were confirmed in Ulaanbaatar, and the remaining 254 were confirmed in the provinces. 16,451 COVID-19 patients are being treated at hospitals nationwide. Additionally, 48,269 patients are being treated at home. Among the 16,451 COVID-19 patients being treated at hospitals nationwide, 7,577 are showing mild symptoms of illness, and 360 are in critical condition. Currently in Mongolia, over 2.2 million people have received their first COVID-19 vaccine dose nationwide, and over 2.1 million have received a second dose of vaccine.
Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change are meeting in Glasgow, Great Britain on October 31st through November 12th for the UN Climate Change Conference, the official name of the Conferences of the Parties, or COP. The key focus of the meeting is to accelerate actions being taken by countries for stricter emission reductions.
Heads of state and government leaders are convening for the COP26 World Leaders Summit in Glasgow on November 1st and 2nd and are expected to announce stricter emission reduction commitments. The Mongolian Minister of Foreign Affairs reported that President U.Khurelsukh will take part in the summit's general discussion and deliver a speech on Mongolia's position on combating global warming and climate change. The president will be in Glasgow until November 3rd. COP countries were asked to update their emission reduction targets before the meeting in Glasgow. The European Union and the United States have already announced stricter targets. The European Union has committed to reducing its emissions by at least 55% from the level in 1990 by 2030, and the US by at least 50% from the level in 2005 by 2030. The key background document for the meeting is the report published by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change in August, according to which the rise in global average temperature will exceed the limit of 1.5 degrees Celsius during this decade. The Secretariat of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change published a synthesis report on the commitments of countries in September. Based on the report, emissions will grow by 16% by 2030, but according to IPCC, they should be reduced by 45% to limit warming to 1.5 degrees. With the present commitments in place, global warming is expected to rise by about 2.7 degrees. The Glasgow meeting will not only cover emission reduction commitments, but will also focus on tools for implementing the Paris Agreement. COP26 is the first major UN event to be held in person during the COVID-19 pandemic, bringing a total about of 28,000 people to Glasgow.
Thank you for staying with us on MNB World. Now let's take a look at Mongolia's current affairs. On October 29th, President U.Khurelsukh presented letters of credence to newly appointed Mongolian ambassadors: Inkhtupshing, appointed to the Russian Federation; Bolgan, appointed to the Arab Republic of Egypt; and Ikhsukh, appointed to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. The president asked the ambassadors to always respect the fundamental national interests of Mongolia and to pay great attention to protecting the interests of Mongolian nationals living abroad, in particular preventing them from being involved in crime. The ambassadors will also be responsible for promoting and passing on Mongolian language, history, culture, customs, and traditions, as well as promoting Mongolia abroad and attracting foreign investment. President of Mongolia met with Canadian Ambassador President U.Khurelsukh. President U.Khurelsukh noted the active development of Mongolian-Canadian cooperation in politics, economic fields, and other areas, and expressed his full support as president for further strengthening friendly relations and moving toward comprehensive partnership. During the meeting, the parties expressed their satisfaction with the successful implementation of Canadian Development Program projects and their valuable contributions to the social and economic development of Mongolia. He also noted that the two countries' defense cooperation has expanded and that Mongolia has played an important role in UN peacekeeping operations. In 2023, Mongolia and Canada will mark the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations. President U.Khurelsukh also met with British Ambassador to Mongolia, Philip Malone. Ambassador Malone expressed his active support for Mongolian-British trade and economic and environmental cooperation, emphasizing that the national Billion Tree movement initiated by the President of Mongolia is a timely step toward combating climate change and protecting the environment. Ambassador Malone noted that the British government attaches great importance to addressing global warming and climate change issues. Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Our next story is about a young girl who has managed to turn her handicrafts hobby into a small retail business. We have details in the following MNB report. This is Nargima. She is a senior student who creates accessories with unique designs in her spare time. She mainly uses copper to create various handicrafts, such as rings, necklaces, brooches, and bookmarks. She says she's created 2,000 accessories with unique designs that have been sold to customers.
When I see something nice and unique, I have this immediate feeling of wanting to create something similar with my own hands. It's like a childish curiosity. Of course, initially I wasn't thinking about turning it into a profitable business. The more you create, the more you learn from your mistakes. It is the next step toward taking your art to another level.
Nargima also creates accessories from recycled paper and felt.
I like creating absolutely new, unique designs. It's interesting to learn something you don't know how to do. I like creating avant-garde things rather than ordinary, normal designs. My future goal is to open my studio where I can teach others how to create handicrafts.
Nargima says that she gets inspiration from nature. She currently sells her products through her social media platforms. The Mongolian youth team, which competed in the qualifying round of the Asian U23 Championship, played its last group match against Laos on Sunday. The match between Thailand and Malaysia ended in a draw, and the Mongolian national team's last match ended with a loss to Laos.
The Asian Football Confederation Under-23 Asian Cup Group J qualifiers have been played in Ulaanbaatar last week. The Mongolian national team lost 3-2 to Laos on Sunday. The national team drew 1-0 with Thailand in the first leg and lost 1-0 to Malaysia in the second. On Sunday morning, Thailand and Malaysia drew, giving Malaysia 7 points and the lead in Group J to qualify for the Asian Cup. They are followed by Thailand with 5 points, Laos 3 points, and Mongolia with 1 point. The Mongolian team, which conceded the first goal of the game from an 11-meter penalty kick, managed to take a 2-1 lead before the end of the first half. Laos scored an own goal and Oyunbol put us in the lead. Laos drew 2-0 shortly after the start of the second half. They responded to the untapped potential of our national team by winning 3-2 towards the end of the match. In Group J, Malaysia and Thailand qualified for the Asian Championships.
With us. We'll see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.